Mickey van der Ven with that solo goal is that a Puskas winner for this year. So we're talking about everything in that game, including that moment. And I'm Harry Scarfe. I'm your host for tonight. So let's introduce your panel. Starting with Chris. It's fantastic to have you back on. How you doing, my friend?
I unmuted myself at the same time as you unmuted me, so I went back on mute again. I'm all good. Yeah, not too bad at all, actually. Yeah, just happy to be here after actually a positive performance rather than after the Chelsea game. That would have probably been a bit harder, but yeah, I'm all good, mate. How are you doing?
No, good stuff. Thank you very much for asking. I appreciate you giving us your time this evening. And you're absolutely right. It's so much easier, isn't it, to talk about a win and not a bruising defeat. So long may that continue. But thank you, Chris, for your time. Connor, welcome back onto the podcast. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm great, thanks. Sort of echoing what Chris said, really. I'm happy to be on here after Copenhagen instead of after Chelsea. I mean, I also told you I didn't really get to watch Chelsea too much, so I'm glad it is after Copenhagen.
Exactly. And I love your bucket hat, Tottenham bucket hat, for anyone who can't
Bring it
see
back.
it. It's very, very good. It's a good one. Thank you very much. And Justin, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm all good. Obviously, after a Tottenham win, it's always great. And to be honest, same as Connor, I was working, so I didn't actually get to see the Chelsea game. So I'm glad I'm not talking about that one.
You two are the lucky guys then, in that case.
Yeah.
To sit through it.
Blessing in disguise, I would say, with that one. I mean, I was working on the day. I should have kept going longer, shouldn't I, really? And finished deliberately for it. But hey-ho, that's the way things go. So wouldn't do anything else other than support the club. But thank you all for joining me tonight. And as I said, we will be reviewing Copenhagen and moving on to Manchester United. And for the Manchester United preview, we're joined by a Man United fan and content creator too. So that should be a good one. But if you're listening by audio, please drop us a follow and a 5-star review. If you're listening on YouTube and you're new, please subscribe. If you like this in particular bit of content, please smash that like button. Shout out to our non-paid partners because we have those non-paid partnerships in the Kitman, Everything Spurs Discord. Also got Dan Gay support services in the 290 and Tottenham Programme Collector. But start 11 before the Copenhagen game, so retracing a couple of days or so. So the lineup Frank picked, because we knew we needed to win this game, was Vicario, Porro, Romero, Van der Ven, Udogie. Midfield of Sarr, Bentancur, Simmons, and an attack of Johnson, Moani, and Odebear. Spurs substitutes then. You've got Kinski, Austin, Danso, Spence, Roswell, Matten, Paulinia. You've got Lowe's, Amakeridge, Richarlison, and Scarlett. Chris, can I start with you? What were your thoughts that line up at the time? Was there anything that struck you by surprise, either in a positive way or negative way?
No, not really. I was pretty supportive of it. I didn't think we can just keep playing certain players like Kudus all the time. So I thought he got the balance about right between making a few changes. There were a couple of others he could have made, but I was pretty happy with it. The one thing we're pretty hamstrung, and that's probably an unfortunate description actually given last season, but we're in a difficult position in defence at the moment, right? We can't really rotate many of them, but yeah, no, happy with the team, and I guess ultimately, I suppose what the one thing I would say is, whilst I was happy with the selection, I was concerned we were just going to see more of the same stuff, really, and kind of pleased that we saw some better performances from the likes of Odebear than we had been, and Moani as well was much better than he's getting up to fitness, isn't he? So I'm sure we'll get into all the players individually, but in terms of the team selection, no issues with it at all.
Great stuff. Thank you, Chris. And Connor, I want to ask you in particular about Romero, because he's back in the lineup. Of course, he was on the bench, wasn't he, against Chelsea? Come on for half an hour or so. Come on at the hour point. Do you think we've really missed his progressive passes? Not often do you say in the whole of football, really, not alone, not just the Premier League, but you have to look at defender and go, okay, your defensive attributes. But I just feel we've missed him almost creating attacks, put his foot on the ball, as well as, of course, his leadership. Would that be fair to say? And do you think, it was important we had him back for this game and in the team?
I actually completely agree with you. He is one of the best in the league when it comes to making progressive passes. Very good at breaking the lines with his passes as well. I mean, even after Van der Ven scored that goal, there was literally a chance straight after the one for Paulinia's goal where Romero had gone forward. So he does contribute a lot in attack. Definitely someone we've missed. And I also agree with what you said about it's almost more so progressive that we've missed him and not defensively, because we haven't struggled to keep clean sheets and defend well. Danzo's been absolutely fine.
He has been, yeah. It's been very, very reliable for sure. Thank you, Connor. Justin, the only concern, I guess, was the bench. Did that, surprise you to see maybe just how weak it was? And that does sound disrespectful, because I'm sure there's a lot of young talent on there. But in terms of first team players, I mean, it does seem to get shorter week by week.
Yeah, that's the thing, to be honest. It's obviously everyone put the whole blame onto how Ange was and how we just had crazy amount of injuries. But to be honest, that's just football these days. That is literally just football these days. So when I saw the bench, I was like, okay, cool, we're definitely losing some players. But then it's good to see. It's good to see other players have to step up. And to be honest, even just having Scarlett on the bench and actually bringing him on was good to see. So I'm happy for it because there's no excuses. I don't hear Frank talking about the amount of players what he's losing at the moment. So as long as they just focus and do what they need to do, like they did last night, then good for it.
Thank you very much. I mean, Chris, I suppose something that will come up, I'm sure, in the future, and it's starting to pop up again. We got it last year, and that is the concern around Pedro Porro playing too many games. Do you have this concern? It just seems like this player that is really heavily relied on, and we've got a couple of players that can play that position.
That's a good question. Am I concerned about it? I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, he does. He is Mr. Available. I was going to say Mr. Reliable, but I'm not sure that's quite true. Yeah, I mean, it would be nice just to have the options of having a bit more rotation, but we've only really we've got one alternate fullback. Really, we can rotate one at a time because Spence can cover either side, I guess. But it would be nice to give him more of a break. But I'm not really concerned about it. I mean, he does seem this kind of guy who's sort of ultra fit. But just to back up the point that was just made, though, just generally around injuries, it frustrates me a bit when people, not just Spurs fans, but just generally in football, say, oh, if we didn't have these injuries, if we had all of our players available, almost no team has all of their players available. It just doesn't happen. Football is a squad game, and you have to just assume that you're going to have 4 or 5 injuries at any one time. You just have to deal with it. But I still find a lot of fans talk about injuries as though they're something that were completely unexpected, but happens every season. So it's just the way the game is. The players play far too much football, don't they, really? Which is the point of your question behind Porro. But Porro does seem, I'm going to curse this now. He's going to get stretchered off at the weekend, but he barely ever seems to get injured, right? So I don't have a massive concern about it. I have a bit of a concern about his form. Can you equate that to being overplayed? I don't know. But in terms of his fitness, look, happy for the players and the sports analysts or whatever they've got to sports scientists to decide. And if he's just a naturally very fit guy, isn't he? He seems like he can play far more games than others. So yeah, I'm not worried about it, but it would be nice to have better squad depth for sure.
Yeah, I feel the same. Thank you, Chris. So 19th minute, Spurs open the deadlock through Brennan Johnson. I mean, Connor, firstly, I think, would you agree that Brennan makes this look really easy? And don't get me wrong, keeper, I think, has had an absolute mare out of his goal, but it was quite a tight angle.
Yeah, I still think once he gets past the keeper, he has got a job to do. I wasn't sure whether he was going to shoot or square it, but no, he took it on and he finished it quite well. But luckily, we had Odebear there anyway, so he probably would have tapped it in if it was slightly wide. But it was a good finish.
Thank you, Connor. And Justin, I mean, great to see Brennan Johnson scoring again and smiling. I mean, it took a little while this season for him to get going, but could this be, the real turning point and kickstart his kind of season?
It all depends on how we play, to be honest. Now we've got an actual 10 there. I think it should be a lot easier for him to get them type of balls through because let's be real, he's one of our best finishers at our club. So as long as he gets that opportunity where we're not relying on him to have to beat his man and stuff like that, even though he did do it that one time in the game. But yeah, his finishing is top class. So as long as we can put him in them type of positions, we're laughing all day, and that's obviously what Ange utilised over the last 2 seasons.
Absolutely, thank you. And Connor, I come back to you. I mean, for this goal still, I mean, Xavi Simons, we'll get onto him and how he performed in this game a little bit later, but what did you make of the pass, which ultimately was the assist at the end?
Yeah, it was quite a good pass. He's had a bit of trouble with getting his head up and making the right pass on quite a few occasions, but he definitely picked out the right ball, played it quite well, and it settled right in front of Johnson nicely, which is one of the things that I've noticed about his passing so far. He always seems to either overhit it or maybe not put enough on it. But that was a perfect pass for the goal.
Thank you. And Chris, do you think it was really important that we got the first goal? We all know our home form, and there would have been tension if we'd gone behind. So do you think it was significant that we scored? I know it wasn't early, but do you know what I mean? Your first kind of half an hour, even, let's say, that Tottenham took the lead in this game. Was that critical?
Normally, I'd say yes. I'm not sure it was on Tuesday, just because they were quite poor, to be honest. So I think we'd have come back anyway. But generally speaking, like, if you go, we'll go on to talk about United. That's a different kettle of fish. Like, I think possibly we do need to, because we do struggle in the creativity, right? So when we're up against the low block, I think we are going to probably struggle a little bit, because Simmons, hopefully that's a bit of a turning point for him, and maybe we can improve from there. But it's been a weird season so far. I saw a league table maybe about a week ago, which was a league table of open play goals, not so discount all the set pieces, and we were top of the league, which is really weird, because when I watch us play, I think we're dreadful from open play. So I don't know how those two things kind of coexist at the same time. But on Tuesday, we were much better. So looking back at the game in hindsight, I think we'd have come through no matter what happened in that game, because they weren't great, were they? And fortunately, some of our players stepped up. So, I mean, it always helps, though, to massive. I mean, statistically, I don't know exactly what the statistics are. I probably should, as I work in betting. But obviously, teams who score the first goal generally go on to get the positive results. So, yeah, always helps.
No, you make a good point. I appreciate the answer for that, Chris. But you're right, Copenhagen weren't great again, which we'll get onto in this game. Certainly did implode later on in the game, completely did collapse. But they come into this game not in a great place. Only a point in the Champions League campaign before playing Tottenham in the league. They find themselves, I think it was fourth in the end. And of course, every season they have the aim of being at least in the top two. But to progress, 39th minute, Koulibaly was booked. At half time, Tottenham went into it with a 1-0 lead. Justin, on that first half, so the first 45 minutes, singling that out, what were your thoughts on it? Was it a deserved lead at the break?
Oh yeah, definitely. If I'm correct, Colo should have got a goal just before the whistle went as well. I can't remember what ball it was. It was either the one where it was the ball across the goal and it was like a tap. Well, it wasn't a tap in, but really he should have just able to finish it and it just went wide. I think that was the chance. Or it was the next ball, what was over the top from Xavi and the header. But either way, we should have been more goals up. So it was definitely deserved. I just feel, again, it's just the players just trying to get used to each other. I just feel like Bentancur was the turning point for me. He was not static in midfield. He wasn't just passing it back. He was moving the ball forward quickly, and we needed that. That I feel like that's what we miss in our transition, is that bit in midfield what doesn't really progress the ball forward quick enough. So yeah, no, we did our job, and it set us up perfectly for the second half.
Thank you, Justin. Can I stay with you though, because you did mention a couple of Mwani chances there. I want to talk about the one I think you mentioned there, in terms of there was 1-2 touch football. I think Simmons was involved. Odobert, really, really nice play, and Kylan Mwani is actually involved in that and done really well in the move. But when it comes to the end, he did put it somehow in a way just past the post. Do you think it's the extra touch maybe that's unnecessary, or could have costed him in this case? It just looked like it put him off balance ever so slightly.
I just think it's just sharpness, to be honest, because really, like, the amount of times it wanted to replay it, even the touch what he took, it wasn't bad. It was just a shot. I just feel like it's just sharpness. He hasn't played that much football compared to, say, where Johnson, I just feel like he's just a natural finisher. So if that would have been Johnson, even if he would have took the touch, I feel like that's going to be more likely going in. But yeah, no, he played well. He played well, but you can see there's still a bit of rust on it. But that compared to Richarlison, come on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I saw your title already. When will Richarlison leave? It says next to your name. So I get the feeling you're going to want to talk about it a little bit later. So I'll keep that in mind. Thank you. Connor, can I come to you on the second goal of the game, which come in the 51st minute from Wilson Odobert? I mean, let's focus firstly on Koulibaly. I mean, how well does Mwani do here?
Yeah, it's really well. I know Justin obviously said about sharpness and stuff, but besides the sharpness, I think he's showing that he's a good player. He presses really well. obviously wins the ball back. I was thinking that maybe as the ball comes down, he might try and strike it. But no, he takes his time, he's composed, takes the touch, and just cuts back inside and sets Wilson Odobert up for a nice finish. But yeah, I think that's it definitely shows that he's got something about him to be able to take the ball down and take his time with it. I really thought he was going to lash at the shot and blaze it over the bar.
He was unselfish, maybe unstriker-like almost. So thank you, Connor, for that. Chris, I can't quite make my mind up. What's more impressive from Moani? Is it the press initially to win the ball back and force ultimately a mistake and make the ball ours? Is it the touch where he brings it down beautifully and it just lands on his foot? Or is it the little knockback to Odobert? What's the best part of this move from him in particular?
Oh, you keep giving me the difficult questions. I don't know. I mean, look, he's superb, right? He's made the goal out of nothing himself. And the most encouraging thing is I think we can begin to see from Tuesday the quality that Moani has, and he's clearly a level above Richarlison, which I think Justin might agree with, judging by his little finger.
Thumb up.
Yeah, I mean I'm kind of excited to see what we can do. We've struggled the last few weeks, but there's just the signs there, right, of Moani. His hold-up plays better. I agree again with Justin about that finish. I think it's just a bit of match sharpness, really. He could easily have had a couple, couldn't he? Well, possibly if he'd have taken that one instead of giving to Odobert, he could have had a hat-trick maybe on the night. But I think that will come. But if you're actually going to pin me down for an answer, I don't know. You could pick any of the three. I mean, I like the fact that he didn't just. I guarantee, if that was Richarlison, even accepting that, let's pretend that Richarlison has brought it down like that. Probably wouldn't, but let's pretend he has. There's no way in a million years that Richarlison is touching that ball. Not a chance. And Thomas Frank is very big on maximising the XG out of any opportunity, right? So, right for the team, but strikers tend to be hardwired not to do that and tend to be hardwired to try and get the goal themselves. So, but I'm going to go for. Be interested to see what the others think. It's a three-way race. It could be any of them. I'm just going to go for the closing down, because if he doesn't do that, the chance doesn't happen at all in the first place. So you want players who work hard. That's your sort of very big minimum expectation, and clearly he's showing that he's happy to do that. So fair play to him. But yeah, good goal. And I'll give Odobert, is not my favourite player, a little bit of credit that he could have snatched at it and just swiped at it right, but he calmly passed it into the corner. So fair play to Odobert as well.
Thank you, Chris. Tell you what, quickly go around the whole panel and think, we want to see what you think's the best part of Moani's kind of involvement here. So, Justin, I'll come to you. Is it the press, and the kind of forcing that error which Chris has gone from? Is it the touch, bringing it down? Is it the layoff? What do you reckon?
Part of me wants to say the press, but I expect that from my players. So I'm going to say the touch, because that's high pressure. You can't muck up right now. And he's just controlled it, just caressed it down. So yeah, I'm going to say the touch.
Okay, thank you. I think I agree with you. I think Chris does make a good point as well, so it's difficult. Connor, what do you reckon?
I was going to say Chris makes a good point about chasing it down. Obviously, there wouldn't have been a chance without it, but it's got to be the touch and the composure for me. Because otherwise,
okay, thank you. We can all.
I mean, otherwise it wouldn't have been a goal that way either. So.
Yeah, no, it's true. I suppose you could look at all three, couldn't you, and go, it wouldn't have resulted in a goal if you take that kind of, piece of the jigsaw out. So fair play. I think Moani done very, very well there. But keeping on the goal for now, and Connor, I will stay with you actually. I mean, on Odobert, because you've got to talk about him, the goal scorer. I mean, it's a nice, calm finish from him. Chris gave him credit there. I mean, it's easy, isn't it? When you get all that dazzling play from someone else in Moani, it's very easy just to, it sounds silly in a way, but it's to miss. Ultimately, we see that, don't we? Just switch off. 1-on-1 with the keeper. Or in your head, you're thinking you're scoring. So I think he does well to stay calm and just slide it, and do his job and put it in the bottom corner.
Not to take anything away from Wilson Odobert either. I think it's not the easiest. I remember watching it back as it happened, and I was thinking, he does actually take the chance quite well, because there was a defender on the line, and it is quite often where player will get a chance like that, and they will just snatch it and just kick it straight at either goalkeeper or defender. But no, he does. He picks his place and slots it away.
And Connor, it sounded a bit like a broken record, but again, another key time to score just after half time.
Yeah, very important. Obviously, correct me if I'm. Was the Johnson red before or after?
After, we'll get onto that.
After, yeah. So if we hadn't have gone and got a second goal, then it could have been a different story. Obviously, we went and got a red card straight after that. So it was very important, and especially I think scoring a goal straight after the break is probably one of the best things you can do for momentum in football, really, because you want to start the way you want to carry on the way you've started. So without that early goal, then it may have been a different story.
Quite possibly, indeed. It would have been a lot more tense, that's for sure, if you hadn't got that second, as you say. Thank you, Connor. 57th minute then, you led us on perfectly. Spurs red card then, Brennan Johnson. So initially given as a yellow, which so often, 99% of the time are given as a yellow. And in my opinion, referees get lazy. Chris, I should have said that in front of you as an ex-referee. So I'll tell you, I'll come to you first on this. But it was given this year as a yellow. Referee goes to the monitor, it's given a red. I always think it's humiliating to overturn your own decision. I get why they make them do it. But Chris, you knew he was in trouble as soon as the ref went over to the monitor. And I'm interested, you feel the same as an ex-referee? You just know now they go to the monitor. And again, more than 9 times out of 10, you know what the decision's going to be.
Yeah, but that's because of the protocol. So they can't send them over just to have another look and reassess. They've got to send them over. The act of sending the referee over is the same thing as saying, we've looked at this and we think you're incorrect. So 99 times out of 100, they are going to change their mind. For me, I'm going to say something that's going to sound really arrogant, but because I've refereed so many games, I can tell straight away just by watching the game whether something's likely to be a red or not. I'd say my accuracy of calling what's about to happen is pretty high. Hopefully those who are annoyed by my comments who sit next to me would probably agree that I do get most of them right. That one for me, I just didn't feel like a red card. I was surprised by it. I've watched it back. I don't think it's humiliating for the ref. I'm not, as a referee, I'm more concerned about getting the correct outcome ultimately than worrying about whether I called it right or wrong initially. But for me, I actually spoke to one of my best mates tonight who's also a ref, and we both agreed that that's not a red card for us. I don't think it'd be a red card in the Premier League. It's a classic UEFA red card for me. They're much stricter on lots of things. And it's another classic example of where a still can look quite damning because his studs are kind of in the back of his sort of Achilles area. But actually, you watch what happens. It's a fleeting contact. There's no force in it at all. I struggle to subscribe to the fact that if it's a red card, you're saying he's endangering his safety. And I was quite happy with it being a slightly reckless challenge, which by definition would be a yellow card. I struggle to look. He's a UEFA top level referee. I'm not, but not for me. It wasn't a red card for me. So I think Johnson was pretty unlucky. But yeah, it's going to happen. Someone else asked me, should we appeal it? Would we get it overturned? There's not a chance in a million years you're going to get it overturned just because he factually did make contact with him sort of fairly high up. And at that stage, UEFA, like I said, they're just way, way, way stricter. So yeah, it's a European red card.
But it's interesting to hear that. Actually, firstly, Chris, but I just feel, and it's interesting you mentioned that as well, because with UEFA, I just think you're right. They do seem to be, for me anyway, and that's why I'm glad you said harsher. Like a good example is the handball rule. I'll never forget Newcastle with PSG. Was it last year? I just looked at that and that cost Newcastle a point in the end and benefited PSG by 2. And that just not be funny. It wasn't. I don't think it was any. It wasn't handball. It was balled by side. And we see even now. It just seems like they take a much more harsh, like black and white view on that. Do you think that can be a positive thing some ways, or is it not because it's different, we get from Premier League, etc.?
Yeah, it's slightly inevitable. We view things from a Premier League centric view, but actually the Premier League is the one that's out of line with most of the rest of the world on handball.
Right.
I think for the better, but most of the rest of the world kind of accept that it just kind of hits your arm and it's a penalty, which I think is ridiculous. I've actually been surprised this week in seeing a couple of handball calls that weren't given in European games. So that not really to concern for us, but there was one in the Liverpool game, right, which was overturned. I agree. It's not a penalty. The guy's hand is only very slightly out, but amazed that some of the ones that you see given in Europe. I mean, I can remember Man United getting one in the last minute away at PSG 2 or 3 years ago, where this guy's back to the ball, like his arms behind his back. I mean, absolutely crazy. We did go through a short period of it in the Premier League, and as Spurs fans, we might remember against Newcastle where literally, but I'm not going to bore this by getting into the minutiae of the guidance, but at the time, the guidance was if your hand is above your shoulder level, there's zero defence. So Eric Dyer jumps like that. The ball's behind him, gets headed against his arm. So he's got no idea where the ball is, but because it was above his shoulder, a penalty was given. But we've kind of come away from that again a little bit in the Premier League, and I do think we adopt a far more sensible approach. But my last point on it would be the nature of the handball law means that it's impossible, unless you go with any touch on the arm is always a penalty. It's going to be impossible to get consistency on this in any one league, let alone across loads of leagues. So, which is really frustrating, I understand, for spectators, but it is what it is. But yeah, European standards are mad for me. And I think it ruins football a little bit. Like some of the stuff you get penalties for. Do you really want penalties given for that? The guy's got no idea where the ball is and it just brushes his hand, but that's where we are. But yeah, I'm going to give the Premier League guys a little bit of praise because they get enough stick that I think the handball thing is something they get right more often than not.
Well, it's funny you say that, Chris. I'll ask you very briefly, if you don't mind, just away from this game. Do you think this season that VAR and officials in general maybe do a little bit better? Because I don't know about you, and maybe I'm just completely missing it, but I haven't heard any, like, of course you get decisions you don't agree with. That was a corner, Forest, Sean Dyche the other day. You think he generally has a point, but you don't see any massive, like we've got your Jota with Tottenham in the past, and we've had a few, and there was a period where constant VAR scrutiny, like use Match of the Day as example, breaking down, should it be here, should it not? Just feels like that conversation's fading away and they're getting majority of things right, although it's frustrating.
I agree. I think I've got a very different point of view to most football fans because they're not referee minded. But I think what's happened is we forget about the good things and we just move on to complaining about the next thing. So before VAR came in, even I was struggling to defend some of the decisions that were given week in, week out. Some of them were absolutely shocking, like egregious sort of errors. They've all gone. So for those who are super against VAR, I'd kind of just say, when was the last time someone handled it on the line and a penalty wasn't given? Or when was the last time someone dived and there was no contact and they've given a penalty? Those things they never happen, ever. So football has to be in a better place for that. But what happens as football fans and as coaches and managers and whatever, we just move on to the next thing. So we've forgotten all the good that it's done and we'll now start arguing about pulls and pushes in the box, which are always subjective anyway. And it's just a difficult task refereeing. So we've got all these like 29 cameras or whatever it is at a Premier League game. We see something with zoomed in super slow-mo. How on earth has the referee missed that? Well, you go try refereeing a game of football and tell me how easy it is. So that's the nature of football, that at no point do we go, we never accept that referees could make a mistake. Generally, as a football world, the tolerance for referees making any mistake is almost zero. So whilst that's true, there's always going to be outrage every weekend because no one looks at it really reasonably from a neutral perspective. There's very few neutral people in football. So you always look at it through the lens of your club and go, how on earth have they given that against us? Or when you're more neutral, you understand that well. It's funny, I was having this exact conversation an hour ago with my mate about we were talking about, I'll very quickly give you one quick example and then we move on. I don't know if you remember the the penalty against Liverpool for Crystal Palace the other week, where he's given a penalty outside the box and they review it and Van Dijk's just kicked him on the line. And me and my mate were saying, if he knew that was in the area, he never would have given it in the first place because it's such a soft free kick. And as a ref, you understand that outside the box, you will give things to a different level of tolerance than you will inside the box. I'm not going to get into a debate as to why that is because football fans instantly get up in arms and go, that's outrageous. But if you've refereed at any level of football, that's the way it has to be. And this is the problem. What it takes to referee a game of football is not well understood by fans. So, but that's a a square you can't circle or a circle you can't square, whichever way around it.
So we can't score, I think it is, but I could be wrong. Thank you, Chris, for that. So I thought I'd get your thoughts as, of course, a former FA referee, coach and assessor. So thank you very much, Chris. Connor, can I come back to you? I want to quickly keep the topic on the red card of Johnson because, you know, it is still a big moment. Didn't turn out to be like a decisive moment maybe in the game in terms of, well, maybe you could argue in a positive way, certainly not in a negative way. But is it on the harsh side for you as a football fan?
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting to hear my point of view. So obviously, I haven't refereed football matches, but I didn't think it was a red card, to be honest. I don't know. It looks. I thought it was a little bit harsh. I agree with Chris that, you know, it's not embarrassing for the referee, but it's just really not a red card for me. He's gone in, and I remember in the slow-mo, you can actually see where his foot is along the floor, like his foot's gliding along the floor. Usually those kind of tackles from behind when you get a red card, usually someone's studs are coming down on someone, not gliding into. And you can actually, his foot bounces on the floor and the momentum pushes his foot back up, and then his studs hits the back of the other player's ankle. But I don't know, I thought it was a little bit harsh. I thought it was maybe could have been maybe a strong yellow. But no, instead he reviewed it and gave it as a red card. So, I mean, it is what it is, unfortunately. But luckily for us, it didn't affect us too much.
No, certainly not, as I said, in a negative way. Thank you, Connor. Justin, anything to add about that Brennan Johnson red card?
To be honest, I think it's only because his foot was planted. I think if his foot was lifting up when Johnson connected, I don't think it would have been given. But his foot was fully in the grass and then it connected, so it done that little jolt. So I think that's where. So when you look at it on the still, I think that's what got him. Whereas if his foot was already in the air, lifted, and it was just a
Coming
connection,
down.
yeah, I don't think he'd have done anything. But that's football these days, especially European football. It's always been that there's challenges what you won't get away with. Like it's always been that for so long. So these days, it's just you have to be a bit more careful. But I think Johnson's just, certain challenges where you're just sliding just to get the player, like ushering the player away, but a slide will make sure he doesn't go that way. He was just unlucky, to be honest.
Thank you, Justin, for that. Thank you, all of you. 61st minute, Spurs made a substitution on Campabellinia and Simmons, which looked like, direct response to that red card, the way that the coaching staff were keen to make that happen. Simmons was frustrated to come off. Justin, sticking with you, can you understand his frustration? Of course, it's all about, for Frank, the game as a whole and being defensive and seeing it out, especially with 10 men. But as a player, which we'll get onto his performance a bit later, but he was, I think we'll all agree, playing at least better, if not, well. Can you understand his frustration?
Yeah, 100%. And to be honest, I don't really mind when players show their frustration like that. Part of me wants them to be, yeah, we're all part of the team, so just quick clap off, get off the pitch, and let the other player come on. But I like players being human and showing the emotion that they're pissed that they feel like they was doing well and they could have added more to the game. But yeah, is an unbelievable talent, and soon we'll be able to see like where it's really going.
Thank you, Justin. Connor, do you think, as frustrating, of course, it is at times anyway, well, at that time, I should say, for fans to see a more defensive change when you feel that Copenhagen could be got at 10 men and the situation we found ourselves in and knowing we needed to really win this game, do you think it was a sensible change at the time, but also now looking back, because we did go down to 10 men, I think that's important to remember.
Yeah, I think it is probably absolutely the most sensible change you could have made. We still managed to go at them anyway. I'm assuming that probably wasn't the idea at first, but the chances arose, and we sort of just rode momentum for the rest of the game and just played off of. I feel like we just played off of the high of Van der Ven's goal for the rest of the game, to be honest. But yeah, it was definitely the most sensible change to make. I do feel for Simmons, and I understand his frustration. I think if I was having, I played a bunch of games, played it poorly in most of them. I was having my best game in a Spurs shirt so far, and then I get dragged off because of someone else's mistake. It's frustrating. But no, it's definitely the right change to bring on Palhinha. When you're 2-0 up, red card, European game, you need the 3 points. So it's the most sensible option.
Thanks, Connor. I'll stick with you if you don't mind. 64th minute, Spurs got the third. You referenced it there, Mickey van der Ven. I mean, all I'm going to say is, wow. Do you reckon goal of the season?
Absolutely. What a goal. I was just, as he was running, I was getting flashbacks to Son's goal, even before he scored it. And I feel like once he maybe got past the halfway line, it's all I can think about. This is going in. He's going to run all the way and score this. But for him to then, make it all that way, and he's not gassing or anything like that, and he still manages to, strike it like he's a seasoned striker. That was a better ball strike than what some of our actual forwards can do. I don't think I've ever seen like a Odebear or maybe even a Richarlison. I mean, Richarlison's got some good finishes, but I just thought it was a really good finish for a centre back. It was an amazing goal, and yeah, hopefully, and it might get a Puskas.
It might do indeed, as I said in the intro. But little story for you here. And do you know what? It all went wrong for me this game. I'm just so glad Tottenham won. But I missed, I think, 3 out of the 4 goals in inconvenient moments, like 30-second periods that I left the room. And for this one, I decided to make me and my brother a cup of tea. And my brother come out running like we scored. We thought, oh, great. And he's like, Van der Ven just run the full length of the pitch. I thought he was either had me on or, exaggerating. I was like, oh, great, another goal from a set piece. Like, no, he's run the full length of the pitch. I was like, right, okay, I'll come in and have a look. And I just couldn't, but it just about caught the replay, and I was like, wow, that's just incredible. I mean, we knew what Van der Ven is capable of. We saw it, I think, Old Trafford, was it? Yeah, we went on this incredible run to
Johnson
put the cross.
assist.
Johnson, yeah, that's the one. Yeah, assist for Johnson. But this time, actually scoring, I think, was huge, and I think comparable with Son's goal. So, Chris, I'm going to ask you that. You say I'm giving you the difficult questions tonight, and this could be another one. Is it better than Son's Puskas winning goal against Burnley, also at the Tottenham Stadium? I mean, that stadium's seen 2, very similar goals.
Yeah. And you're right with what you just said there. They are so remarkably similar. It's almost unbelievable how similar they are. I'll give it to Van der Ven, though. He does start slightly further back, but you watch the Son goal, he starts really deep as well. But Son's an attacker. You kind of expect him, well, I'm not sure you expect anyone to score a goal like that, but you would think an attacker is going to have a bit more of an ability to do that than a defender. So I'll give it to Van der Ven. I'm going to say one mildly controversial thing, which is when you watch both of those goals, and there's another one, I'm pretty sure the oldest of all the guys here. So there's another famous goal that Ryan Giggs scored in the FA Cup semi-final in 1999, which was similar-ish. And I watch all 3 of them. And I think if you put yourself in the shoes of the team who's conceded the goal, they're absolutely appalling goals to concede. There is no way you should ever concede a goal like that. Like, no one puts a challenge in at all. But that's not, I don't want to take away. They're still amazing goals. And I was there on Tuesday, and the adrenaline, you can feel it around the stadium just from being there to witness a goal like that. I just find it mad defending that they were defending that high up. Because if you've got Van der Ven running at you, he's just going to do what Gareth Bale did a load of time, right? But it would just kick the ball on and run round you, and you're not going to get anywhere near him. So crazy defending, but the goals, been fortunate, I guess, in my time when I think back, and I've been there for a few amazing goals that we've scored over I'm old, so I guess by virtue of that, I've seen quite a few. But yeah, that's right up there, and for a defender to do it is something else. I will just mention one other point, which I don't know whether we might get onto talking about as part of the Man United discussion, but it does make me wonder slightly when Van der Ven's got that in his game. It's not something that you can really freely afford to do with a back 4. Would it be something if we did go to a back 3 or 5, whichever one you want to consider it to be, that would give him a bit more license to potentially run forward like that, and it would give Romero potentially a bit more license to step up into midfield as well with the ball, which, as we know, he does really well. So that was just one thought when I was watching it. I thought, could we leverage this more often, give him the opportunity? Because it's a bit, if he's going to do that on a semi-regular basis, he's going to lose the ball a reasonable amount. And if you do it with a back 4, you're going to be in trouble. Back 5, maybe. It was just a thought. But anyway, answer the question. Van der Ven.
Okay, thank you very much. Justin, I'll bring you in on this goal. I'm sure you want to have your say on it. I'll start with that same question. Where does it rank for you amongst Son's goal against Burnley? Because this was just something else from Van der Ven.
Yeah, no, I definitely rate it more than Sons just because, again, Van der Ven is a defender. But there was an interview what he did, I don't know, maybe a month ago, and he was actually talking about how he started off as a striker. And then it showed a couple of his goals, of his finishes. And I was thinking, okay, cool. So when he was running, and I was thinking, if you're not going to pass it, I expect to see a finish. Someone who says they used to be a striker, you think you got a little something about you, but I wasn't expecting that. Not at all. But he glided past the players. I was expecting someone to foul him. I literally thought someone's going to injure this guy, and he just kept skipping past them. And yeah, no, great finish, great player at the moment. Like crazy that he's on form like this.
Yeah, he's doing exceptionally well. Justin, can I stick with you? I mean, where you say about you concerned he's going to get fouled and injured, but I don't know about you, but I was in particular concerned about his hamstring. I just thought I could just have this image in my head, and after I saw the replay, and obviously I know it wasn't the case. I suppose the small luxury of not see it live, but I'm like, if that was me, I would have been worried if I'd see it in normal time that he could have pulled his hamstring because of his, of course, injury record with his hamstring, just how far he went. Was that a concern when you saw him go on this great big run?
To be honest, because he's not doing them lung busting runs every single game where he's the last man sprinting back, I've not been too worried about his injuries. I think because the style of play is totally different. Yeah, I'm not as worried because even I've noticed he's normally the first person to step up to go attack the attacker and normally leaving Romero back. So yeah, maybe they've worked out that as long as he's not killing himself throughout the game, then yeah, we can afford him to do a couple of these runs.
Okay, thank you very much. Connor, can I come back to you on Van der Ven? 6 goals now across all competitions, meaning he is our top scorer in the Premier League and, for example, the Champions League. I mean, he's incredible, isn't it? I mean, maybe he's discovering that kind of, I don't know, a clear offensive presence in him. But do you think Frank's really developed this kind of, better offensive side in him? Maybe using his head a little bit more, realizing how tall he is, and using that kind of physical and aerial ability he's got as well in the box. Of course, this just had nothing to do with that threat from set pieces, but I think generally the exposed question is whether Frank's improved him going forward.
I just think it's something you just don't know the answer to something like that, because I think sometimes defenders you just go for a bit not lucky, but almost lucky in a way of the positions that the ball was landing. He just always seems to be in the right place at the right time. I mean, that goal, that's not going to be coached. And the other goals he scored, they've sort of been, fleeting moments where the ball has fallen to him and he's tucked it away. I don't know whether that would be something that's necessarily coached. I mean, it's definitely testament to some good set pieces, but I think some of it as well also comes down to a little bit of luck when a defender is scoring a lot of goals.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. But I think we're all in agreement this is a very big goal, and we find out just how important they view it in terms of goal of the season, Puskas, etc. But in quick concession, 3 minutes later, 67th minute, Spurs got the fourth of the game through João Palhinha. I mean, Chris, a crazy 3 minutes. Would it be fair to say that Copenhagen collapsed at this point?
Yeah, it's a bit weird, wasn't it? I've never seen maybe I have, but a red card that acts in the completely opposite way as to what you think it would do. So, which I guess is the same for Frank, which is why he made a more defensive substitution. So, but yeah, from that point onwards, for about 10 or 15 minutes, we tore them apart. I mean, we were a much better team. We played much better after, not that we didn't play well before, but we played much better after the red card than we did before. And we could have easily won by more. So, I mean, you must have been absolutely gutted if you're with Copenhagen at 2-0 down. You think, right, they're down to 10 men. We might have a chance of getting our way back in. And 10 minutes later, you're 4-0 down. But yeah, it's very, very strange because we seem to have so much space on the ball afterwards, which is really weird because we've got one man less. But they're not a good team. Let's go back to that. But you can still only beat the team that's in front of you.
That is very, very true. Thank you. Justin, I mean, coming back to you for this goal, Romero charging forward this time, another centre back. This time he got the assist with Van der Ven scoring in the previous one. I mean, what an amazing centre-back partnership, and that's something that's been said for a while, but just how good are the partnership of Mickey van der Ven and Christian Romero?
Yeah, no, they've got a real understanding about each other, and I feel like, especially after last season, the amount of goals what went past the team, the amount of games what they both had to miss, I feel like it looks like they're proper locked in for this season, and they understand what to do. They understand when one's going, one's staying. They know what their strengths are, and they utilize it. So, and good on Frank as well for seeing that, because it's easy to try and change stuff up, but when you've got a partnership like that. There's a lot of people obviously spoke a lot obviously about the amount of goals what we let in last season. But for the games what they actually played, yeah, we did well. We actually did well. So yeah, and I'm glad just to see that they're both just pushing forward. And as long as we lock down Van der Ven for a next contract, we're looking good.
Yeah, 100%. He's the next one, no doubt about it. But Connor, I mean, a nice first time finish by Paulinho. Of course, you see it and it looks easy. Well, not easy, but easier to start with. And when you look back now, I mean, it's an instinctive finish. And we'll get on to Paulinho, but ultimately he comes on and gets a goal and an assist. Not a bad substitution by Frank.
No, he's made such a big impact every time he has played. Sorry, I know you said we'll get on to Paulinho in a second properly, but yeah, it was a great goal. It was a great finish. To be honest, I wasn't sure we was actually going to score on that attack because I was wanting Romero to do it because it just would have been funny straight after Van der Ven's goal. But I thought the pass over to Paulinho was a little bit loose, and he does well to finish it. But then obviously the worry that it was going to be offside, but no, it was deceiving and it was actually onside. So yeah, it was a really good goal.
Quote here from Jamie Carragher on Monday Night Football, and I couldn't believe it when I saw it at the time. You have probably seen it. There was a reason teams in the Premier League didn't buy him. He's simply not good enough for Tottenham. This is very clear to see. I mean, listen, without being too disrespectful, because I'm very wary that this is the kind of route that I want to get into football and also media. But I mean, should you be allowed to? I think the question has to be here. Comment on something you clearly have no knowledge on. And everyone's entitled to opinions. Carragher, I think, actually does produce some really good analysis in some cases. And he did for this. He makes a point in terms of the gap. When you have Bentancur and Paulinho, the point was they're good defensively, but not as good going forward. And a lot of what he said was right in terms of there's no balance and it just doesn't seem right to have a 10 and 2 defensive 6. But to single out Paulinho individually, this guy has not watched Tottenham once this season, I promise you. I only watched them when they play Liverpool. Chris, I know that you have talked about this before. With Carragher in this scenario, I mean, he's entitled to his opinion, but this is just complete rubbish, to put it frankly. So what is this reason for this comment? What has he seen or what's someone told him in his ear to make him say this?
I completely agree with what you just said. I thought it was baffling in a few ways. One, it was only a few weeks before he was saying he was like signing of the summer and and I agree with what you said. I don't actually think there's much he said that's wrong in a way. And he put the graphic up around was it interceptions versus progressive passes or something, and he got the most. Is it tackles or interceptions? I don't know what it was. Might be tackles per game. He's got the most there, and he's got very few progressive passes. But I just sat there and watched it and thought, yeah, but who expected any different from Paulinho? You don't sign Paulinho and then go, oh, it's disgraceful. He's not doing loads of progressive passes. Well, of course he isn't. That's not his game. So I think the criticism of Tottenham Hotspur is absolutely fair. We've been woefully short there. It's not Paulinho's fault. Like I couldn't get my head around it really. If it was I'm not saying this is necessarily my view, but if it was a Bentancur analysis, I might have more sympathy for it because just Paulinho is what he is. And to say that, because he was saying that there was a reason why no Premier League clubs went for him when Bayern signed him. Absolute nonsense. He wanted to go to Bayern. There were so many Premier League clubs that would have taken him then. I reckon there's loads that would have taken him now when we've got him. I was baffled by the whole lot, to be honest. And like you, I actually think Carragher's pretty good. I like listening to him. But it was one thing I just sat there thinking, really, really weird. Like, I don't know. It's like, it's just criticising a player for something that he's not expected to do in the first place. It doesn't make any sense to me.
No, absolutely baffling, and that's the thing. Carragher, typically with his analysis and throughout his punditry short career, has been very complimentary, to say the least, of number sixes. So to throw one under the bus like that, when I think Paulinho is your prime example of a typical number six, is very confusing. But we'll move on.
One small
Yeah,
point
yeah.
at the end. I take the point that Paulinho probably is not good enough to be your top of the league. I compare him to, say, a Caicedo, who can do what Paulinho does, but he can also do more. I fully accept that. He's not perhaps absolute elite level, but you know that when you sign him. You're getting a guy who is just the destroyer, pass it to someone else and move on. So I could accept that point of view, but, you know, everybody knows what Paulinho is. So I just found it odd to start criticising him for what you know he does. It's bizarre.
Crazy, but I could mind about that all night because that did shock me. I haven't commented on it yet deliberately because I need to think about the way that which I conduct myself. But 91st minute, Spurs were awarded a penalty. Chris, I guess I'll stay with you for this one. I mean, leave Richarlison for a second. Firstly, how well did Dane Scarlett do to win the ball back? We talk about press, no better example than this. But to win the penalty as well. I mean, this is we talk about cameos in football and making kind of a stance, a statement, an area we've got ridiculous amount of depth at, but not quality for me. How well did he do though in this moment?
Yeah, look, for me, Dane Scarlett is nowhere near good enough for Tottenham. But equally, I'm not going to change my mind on that. But you've got to be fair on what someone does in any one game, and you know that's probably the best we haven't seen a lot of him for a long time, but you know he did well. I don't think it changes anything. Ultimately, you know he's failed on the loans he's been at a much lower level than this. He's not the answer for us. I think the only reason he's here, if I'm honest, is that no one seemed to want to take him in the summer. So, but that doesn't mean that you should just bash him all the time. If he plays well, you've got to praise him and say he played well, and he did really well there. The only thing I didn't really like is just Richarlison, isn't it? Just let Dane. You're 4-0 up. Just let the kid take the penalty, man. It's just Richarlison and a striker. More basically, he's just pulled rank, isn't he? He said, "I'm the senior striker. I'm going to take it." And to be fair, it wasn't the worst penalty ever in the world. He struck it pretty well. I just didn't think at that stage. For me, it said something about Richarlison's character. I just didn't think he needed to take it.
No, and that leads me on perfectly because just a minute later, 92nd minute, Richarlison, missed the penalty. But if you remember correctly, Maddison was meant to take a penalty. Can't remember what game exactly. So if you know, please do let me know, any of you. But Maddison was generous and gave it back to Richarlison after Richarlison caused quite a scene because he won the penalty. Fair enough. He makes a point and he's given the penalty. So I just think for me, that's an example of where you give it back, kind of thing. You've had it your way, give it back. But some will make the point, Colin, I come to you first, that there is a pecking order, but B, you kind of earn your stripes. That's what I was having this conversation with my dad. He's like, oh yeah, you earn the stripes. It's got to be Richarlison. So I'm like, for me, that's Scarlett. Richarlison is, had it given to him, for me, he should be given this the Scarlett. It's different if Scarlett hasn't earned the penalty, but for me, it should be Scarlett taking it. But I was in direct disagreement with my dad. Where do you stand on it? What do you reckon?
Right. The whole thing that you just explained, all I could hear was like robot noises.
Can you hear me now?
My connection cut out really badly then.
That's all right. Penalty. Who, Scarlett, Richarlison, that whole situation. For you, where do you sit on it? Who should be taking that penalty? Of course, hindsight is completely different, and
It's still the connection's still really bad, but I think I've gathered generally what you was asking me. For me, it should have been Dane Scarlett who took the penalty. I do understand why Richarlison took the penalty, and I do have a problem with it. It really, really annoyed me at the time. But looking back, I mean, football. They've all got their own personal things to fulfill. I mean, you've got to be in good form. I know Richarlison's one of those players. He cares a lot about playing for Brazil as well. So you want to be playing good all of the time. You want to be getting, into your national team as well. And when you've not been scoring and there's a penalty up for grabs, you're just going to go for it. You're going to take it no matter, even if it crushes kids' dreams. it did really annoy me. I think I've kind of lost my patience with Richarlison now, and I'm actually quite a patient person. I think when it comes to Spurs players, I'm always giving them second chances, and my friends are telling me I'm mad for liking certain players. Richarlison, yeah, I've just had enough. I mean, he come on and he looked woeful, and then when he took the penalty, that's when it just was the nail in the coffin for me, because I think it's a no-brainer. You know, you're 4-0 up. Dane Scarlett's come on, Champions League debut. Would have been a great moment for him to maybe, you know, get a bit of confidence in him and kickstart something. But Richarlison just comes and takes it, and to make it even worse, he misses it. And I think that's the bit that just sent me over even more. I remember I text my brother straight away and was just raging about Richarlison, but yeah, it definitely should have been Dane Scarlett's penalty. I think it was only
Thank
fair.
you, Connor. No, I agree with you. And the devil's advocate, I suppose, to that, because I totally agree with you. It's, again, some would say that if Richarlison scores this, we're not even going to be having this conversation. And in reality, they're probably right. We could be sitting here going, it's a shame Dane Scarlett didn't take it, but Richarlison scored, Tottenham 5-0, move on. That is I suppose, the flip side to it. But Connor, I agree with you. Thank you very much. Justin, I know your thoughts on Richarlison, but at the same time, I trust you to be as balanced and as fair as possible. Because Richarlison, at some point this season, I agree with you, you know, not good enough, moving on, etc. But he was top scorer for a point this season in all competitions. Things aren't going well for him at the moment, are they? Where do you sit with Richarlison? Please explain your thinking.
He's just poor. That's all it is. Just poor quality. Just absolutely dreadful. One of our worst ever signings. Spent way too much on him. And this season, the best thing he's done is stay fit. That's it. That's the best thing he's done. Because other than that, it's nothing special. Cool, he scored very good goal. The other goal was cool. And then that's it. He doesn't bring nothing. Like every single time he's on the pitch, he brings nothing other than he'll get us some free kicks. That's all it is. So yeah, I'm just done with it. It's been our problem with Tottenham is we normally hold players for way too long, and he's one of them players. We've just held him for way too long, and we're not going to get the value what we think we're going to get. And now and especially with our place, the quality is so high on everything around, like the training facilities, the stadium, everything. So players don't want to leave. They just don't want to leave that comfy environment as well. But yeah, fingers crossed we get rid of him in January, or at least at the end of the season, because the quality's not there. So when we need to do something, or we need a player to step up, he's not the guy. I know he had his purple patch last season, and he started off this season well, but really 2 good games, and then what's he really brought for the team? So that's why I'm just like, when will he leave? Just when will he leave? There's certain players I never thought would be here this long. Ben Davis and Richarlison, and Ben doesn't wind me up. Like I understand why he's here. He adds the other side with coaching, with the integrating with the new players and all of that. I see what Ben does, but Richie, I don't care about the vibes. I just want good quality, and I grew up with the Keens, the Berbatovs, the Defoes, like even the Crouches, even Pavlyuchenko. Like, yeah, there's so many. Yeah, it kills me. So yeah, that's my Richie rant done.
No, that's fine. Thank you. Chris, it ended 4-0 to Tottenham. I mean, our best defensive performance under Frank, would that be fair to say, or does it come close?
I don't think so. I'm just again, that you caught me off guard so many times tonight. That wasn't a question I was expecting. I mean, we've kept 8 clean sheets, so there's a few others to consider. I didn't think they offered an awful lot, so I'm not sure that we had to be at a hugely high level to defend. Whereas there are other games where we have been under the cosh and we've defended. Right, I thought, for example, away at Everton, I thought we were brilliant. They had most of the play. I know Vicario made a couple of saves, but I thought we defended really well. Away at City, I guess, would be the ultimate defensive performance for this season. I was at both those games, by the way. I must be a good luck omen for the away games. But even when I was at City, it was very early in Frank's tenure, and I thought I was so impressed because I never actually thought, this is really weird for a Spurs fan, I was watching it. I never really thought like City were going to score. I never felt that nervousness that you normally have as a Spurs fan. Like any second now they're going to score, and then it's going to be like the Alamo, and we're going to lose 5-2. Just never had that. So I wouldn't go as far as saying it was the best defensive performance, but possibly one of the best going forward. We looked actually fluid. We've scored far more goals than we should have done this season when you look at XG versus how many we've actually scored. I think that bears out from what I watch, because I don't feel like we're particularly fluid when we've got the ball. I don't feel massively like we're going to score huge amounts of goals, even though we have scored a fair few. But on Tuesday night, it actually looked like it was beginning to come together a little bit, and there was little bits of evidence of understanding forming. Certainly between Mawani and Simmons, I really hope that is something that we can see going forward. For me, Mawani is absolutely shoo-in that he's got to play. He's by far the best we've got up front. So no, I wouldn't say, having thought about it, I wouldn't say best defensive performance, but probably the most fluid performance I think we've seen in terms of those sort of relationships on the field and actually having a bit of chemistry. And I thought Simmons did really well. And going back to one of your earlier questions, I can fully understand why. The guy, bless him, he's come in. How many games has he played? 10 games for us? I don't know. Let's say 10 games. And he's had stinkers in most of them. And then all of a sudden in a game where he's suddenly playing well and he's created 3 great chances, and then he gets subbed off. But that's football. It wasn't his fault, really. It was just the way that the game had gone, right, with Johnson being sent off. But hopefully he'll pick up where he left off on Saturday with any luck.
Fingers crossed. Thank you. One word answer now from both of you. I'll come to you first, Justin. What one word would you use to describe that Tottenham performance?
Surprising.
Oh, I like that. Okay. Thank you very much. Chris, I'm sorry to again throw you under the bus with these questions, but this time with the result, I mean, it might be similar to the performance.
Yeah, one word, I'd say encouraging for me.
Encouraging. Love that. Thank you very much. Connor's had to jump off. I don't know if he's going to come back or not due to connection issues. Got a United fan in the background, so let's whiz through the rest of the Copenhagen review. So I want to discuss a few individuals. Firstly, Xavi Simmons, which we have touched on, in particular yourself, Chris, which I'm going to stick with you. I mean, do you think, he's playing with confidence after this game? And do you think he's really kickstarted his Spurs career? Because often you have a game, don't you? Like with a manager, a team in general, maybe players do as well. They just kind of kickstart your career, or a turning point is the way I like to view it. Was this Simmons' turning point?
Well, we will find out, won't we? I don't think you can know at this stage, but that's how I would describe it. Potential turning point, but we'll see in what happens next over the next few games. But yeah, no, he has been really, really bad. Let's be honest. He's been pretty terrible. But I think sometimes we forget there's more than just a player. There's a human being. There's a relatively young. Let's be honest. He's not that much older than you, Harry. He's had to move country, settle into a new way of life. Who knows? He's probably living out of a hotel or something. I don't know if he's got immediate family. Who knows all of that stuff? And everybody is different, and some people take longer than others. So the good thing about him is, compared to Tell, for example, he's got a back catalogue of evidence where you can go, look, actually, I've performed in the Bundesliga, international level, Champions League, and that gives me confidence that his time will come. So fingers crossed that it's the turning point, but it's a bit TBC. But I really hope we see the evidence of it on Saturday.
Yeah, fingers crossed. We do, really need someone like that, especially with Maddison out, Kulusevski out in that 10 role. We really need someone to step up to the table. Justin, can I ask you about Kolo Muani? I mean, another good shift from him. He got an assist. I mean, you've mentioned it. I mean, and I think you would agree with me on this, but he deserved a goal, didn't he?
Yeah, no, he's looking tidy. Even a couple games before, it was just the little touches, the attempt to do the flick. So you can see that he's got the control there. So yeah, nice. To be honest, he's looking very tidy. I'm hoping that he can just stay fit, and yeah, they can build up the connections, because really you've got the French connection of him, Odebert, and then obviously you've got Xavi just behind. Obviously when Kudos is there, there's enough there Watch should able to create enough goals for the meanwhile, at least to ride us all the way to January. So yeah, no, I believe he'll do well. Definitely should have got a goal. Very unlucky, but it's good to see that he wasn't selfish and put the team first for the assist.
Okay, thank you. And have you been impressed with what you've seen from him so far away from this game?
Yeah, completely. That's what I was saying. A couple games beforehand, it's just the little touches and stuff like that. What I could see that his hold up plays there, he's capable of linking up, but he's going to do something a bit different. So that's why I was very confident. It's just time. That's all it is. And right now, where the results are in our favor, but not always how we want it to be, there's got to be pressure. But when you got Richie there as the person who's running for your spot, that's where it's just competition. So hopefully when Dom comes back, then you got iron what can sharpen iron.
100%. Thank you, Justin, for that. Next individual then is Destiny Udogie. Chris, going to give this one to you. Do you think he's better going forward on the left-hand side than Spence? Because I look at Udogie and go, you've got a lot more balance. Someone who's natural to that side. I don't know about you, but I like Spence, but just really with 1v1 defending. And he's a good player. Don't get me wrong. It's easy to forget about that. But Udogie for me is so much better going forward.
Well, you've already given me the answer. I can't. What am I supposed to say now? I've been one of Udogie's biggest critics, honestly, in the sense of mostly. Let's just part of this season. I'll come to that in a second. But mostly, what I've seen is a guy who can get into good positions and absolutely has no ability to deliver a cross, a pass, or anything whatsoever. So, I think he's been a bit overhyped to this point. But this season, he's begun to win me over a little bit. I think he gets forward. I do think he gets forward really, really well. I've just been so disappointed. I think he's begun to improve. So, but for going back to what you're saying, I think there is a hesitancy from Spence. I think he does get into decent positions as well, but then whereas Udogie might carry on running, Spence tends to kind of check back or go inside. And it does seem to work a little bit better with Udogie, I think. So he's winning me around a little bit. I certainly think he should have first choice left back, which I wouldn't have said almost at any point in the last, I don't know, this year since Spence started to play well, but I've kind of come back round to it a little bit. So I'm hopeful that I can see signs that he could improve, whereas I just found him really, really frustrating and underwhelming, to be honest.
And my last question of the review for Copenhagen before we move into Manchester United for both of you is your man of the match. Chris, I'll stay with you. What are you thinking?
Well, I left after the fourth goal. So, everyone says Bentancur. I don't know. I didn't necessarily. I thought he played all right. I do find Bentancur is a bit of a flat track bully, that he plays really well against poor teams and then doesn't turn up for the bigger games. But they all played well. And I'd be quite happy to give it to Simmons, to be honest. I know he only played for an hour, but he made at least 3 absolutely glorious chances. I mean, Mwani should have scored those other 2 for sure. So, yeah, I'm going to go for Simmons. Just A, he played well, and B, on the back of just so many dreadful, dreadful performances, it was great to see him look at home a little bit more and give us some signs of what he can do. So I'm going to go for him.
Great stuff. Thank you. And last but not least, Justin, your man of the match.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Simmons. I preferred Bentancur's game just because he was making everything tick. He was intercepting. He was just doing everything he was supposed to do. But to be honest, Chris got it perfectly. Like against the lower teams, that's when Bentancur just looks unbelievable. And then we'll take on Man U, and who knows. But yeah, no, Xavi, just because he's been needing that type of game just to build that confidence, and perfect time.
Great stuff. Thank you. And now we'll move on then to the Manchester United preview. That's Tottenham's next game this weekend. And a great way to start by introducing opposition guest, so Manchester United fan, in Harry, who is a content creator and big Manchester United fan. Harry, firstly, how are you doing?
I'm all right, mate. How are you, fella? You doing good?
I'm good. Very, very good. Thank you. Would you like to tell people that are listening and watching a little bit about yourself and what you do on social media?
Yes, so as you can see, that's my TikTok name there. I'm mainly known on TikTok. I'm not sure if any of you know me. about my United content creator. I'm either a stammer, and I know I'm just like sort of like spreading the word for people with a similar thing like myself who are football fans, as they may have it. I know I'm sort of like showing them it's okay to be different and just be yourself. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm here to do.
Good on you. Thank you very much for giving us your time. And you've got 160,000 followers on TikTok. Is that right?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Somehow, I mean, a lot of people, some like me, some don't like me. A piece of the pie, innit?
Love that. No, I really appreciate you coming on, and I'll start with you if you don't mind. I want to get your thoughts on United's start to the season. Firstly, what have you made of it?
I mean, it's been a tale of twos. Because if it had asked me slap bang after Grimsby, I would have said probably up there with Van Gaal's first season. Like it, I think Van Gaal's first season pips it is what better by MK Downs. No, but after Grimsby, I thought it was all. And I thought that was the game for Amarim. Well, like it was done. He was literally begging to get sacked on ITV Sports. I couldn't believe it. None of our fan base could, because I've been like Amrim's biggest outer. I'm sure a lot of United fans, unfortunately, no, but I thought that was the be all and end all. And then when it got to Chelsea, I thought, I mean, it's Chelsea at home. Could we get a win? They're on form. Garnacho was written score. And 11 men, 10 men, we absolutely battered them. And then from there, it's sort of, the Brentford lost, the City lost, and then Anfield comes along, and you think 7-0's happened there before, final under Ralph Rangnick. It might be a thumping. No, we absolutely deserved that win. And then from there, it's just been all hands. I went to the Brighton game, I think, a week and a half ago, and on fire. And it's been a really nice welcome refreshment, because I'm not used to this as much as I should be. But yeah, so far, so good. But again, there's like 29, 30 games to go, so a lot can change.
Exactly that. And Harry, thank you firstly. Sticking with you though, interested to hear your thoughts on United start to the season. But do you see this as, well, the Liverpool game in particular, Anfield, which you referenced, as a turning point? Do you think that's the point? Of course, you're still going to lose games. Things are going to be frustrated, and Amarin's going to be questioned, of course, at some point, being Manchester United manager. But do you think really you can kick on now? I know that you drew to Forest, but you've been unbeaten since the game at Liverpool. How significant was that win?
I think that win was huge in terms of, not in terms of a one game thing, but winning at Anfield for us, it's always a massive thing. And the same for Liverpool coming to our place and winning. It's always a huge thing, and it can flip the switch of a season. Like, I remember when we went to Anfield under Van Gaal, I mean, Juan Mata scored that thunder of a volley, and it's like, from then our season just flicks. FA Cup winners who are an all-time high, like that one game changed our whole season. And that game this season, I'm starting to see similar patterns of the way where you can see that the front three, no matter if it's Cunha on Burmo, Sesko, or Bruno Cunha and on Burmo, like they're just starting to tick the boxes that I think we as fans wanted. And I think you mentioned the Forest draw, and I've hated the City ground, especially the Ten Hag, where like that ground, no matter what form Forest are in, they will score goals, and the weekend proved it. But the fact that we kept the grit and the determination and still got a point is really applaudable, because last season we lost to Forest home and away. Liverpool lost away due at home. And it's like those games now, looking back at Liverpool, Brighton and Forest, last season we dropped points, this season we've gained points. So I see that I think stand as a huge win. But you know, there's a lot more games than our season could go from that to that, or that to that, or that to that. Joe, like you can't predict it.
No, you can't. Thank you, Harry. Would you say that not being in Europe, and I'm sorry to bring it up, but Grimsby being knocked out, in the Carabao Cup, that third round, would you say that it's a blessing in disguise because you can focus on the league? How good is it for your league form that you can just kind of, and you're not just in that competition, of course you've got the FA Cup, but
Yeah.
it just feel that maybe for Amrin to juggle, let's say, Europa League, or let's say you won the Europa League, actually, go back and you'd be playing the Champions League. How would the Amrin balance that as well? Would he have struggled?
I think that when you look at Amarim in the Europa League last season and balancing it to do with the league, one thing I noticed is that for all the stick I give Amarim, he's really good in Europe. Apart from Spurs defeat, he's really good in Europe in terms of setting his team up, sort of like making them compact. And one of the things I noticed is that in Europe, we can have the ball and dominate and win, or we can't have the ball and still dominate and win. And one of the games I look at was the Lyon game at home, which is an absolute all-timer. And then the league game after that, I think we lost. I can't remember who to. And it was like, yeah, Amrim can't balance these two together unless he's got his full squad that he wants, and he's gonna inherit. And I think that if it had been in the Champions League playing Tuesday, Wednesday, or Wednesday, Sunday, I think it would have been worse for us because I actually think that would be further down in the league in terms of like 10th, 11th, 12th. Because one thing that this club does, very weirdly, is they prioritize Europe over the league, and that's not how it should be. It should be both. You prioritize, but obviously the club sees it in a different view. And to come to Grimsby, I actually disagree because those two cups, the FA Cup and the League Cup, if you were to tell me what, like in August, start of the season, prediction-wise, what would you take? I said 8th and a League Cup. You're in the Conference League in Feb. That's confirmed for next season. Maybe you go and push on in the league to take Europa League, but the fact that now we only got one out of 2 shots at Europe left, because the league isn't guaranteed here. And I've said this for so long, even under Ten Hag, play your starting 11, your main one, in the trophy competitions, unless you're a City or an Arsenal or Liverpool who are doing unreal in the league and they don't really want to focus on the little cup, so to speak. Teams like us and Chelsea in their period, and you guys as well. Like, these trophies matter, and it's like so crucial. So I think it'd have been nice to still be in the League Cup, but I think once a week, yeah, he's doing a bit of a good, to be honest.
Thank you, Harry. And I've got a final question to you before we go into the game in particular. When you talk about your season so far, would you say, like, the way you view it now compared to before a ball was kicked at the start of the season, has it been better, similar, or worse than you expected? If you were, to be totally honest.
I think, because I've done a prediction video on my channel, and I said that I was 12th at the end of the season, and that for me was better than 15th because the way we were playing, I was like top and the bottom half of the table. But I've actually been surprised at how well we've started. In terms of one of the things I've noticed is that I'm not sure if you guys have seen it at all, but Amarim's tweaking his system, and I seen it against Brighton where when we faced Brighton last season at our place and lost 3-1, he played the same system but didn't change nothing. When I went to the game against Brighton, I've never seen a United manager, and this will sound crazy, dominate Brighton the way we did, because he changed his system. Cunha, Burmo, and Fernandez all intertwined. Sesko's hold-up play, terrific. And last season, Højlund tried that, and what I can't, it was name, I think it might have been Belabor, bodied him off last season. And it's like those sort of things I didn't expect at the start of the season, because I sort of expected the exact same Route 1 sort of thing. So to answer your question, I've actually been surprised, and I think it's been so far better than what I initially predicted. Yeah.
Oh, great. That's good to hear, actually. Thank you. I mean, interesting you had United down as 12th. So, they're doing a lot better at the moment. Thank you, Harry, for that. But on the game, moving on, Chris, can I come to you from a Tottenham perspective? How do you feel ahead of the game this weekend before the international break?
Worries? Yeah. Our home league form has been, well, home form in general until Tuesday has been pretty dire, to be honest. I hope Tuesday can be a bit of a turning point, but we've just got to recognise that Man United are a different animal to Copenhagen. So, yeah, I think it'll be really tough. But if we perform like we did against Chelsea, I think it's pretty obvious what the outcome will be. That was one of the most appalling performances I've ever seen from any Spurs team. And I think last season means nothing. I hate these things that, especially as Spurs fans, but I guess all fans do it, come up with like, oh, well, it was Chelsea. We never beat Chelsea. We've never beat. It doesn't matter what we do. We'll never beat Chelsea. I'm like, that doesn't mean anything. What's gone is gone. The fact I can't subscribe to just talk about Chelsea against United, but I can't subscribe to the idea that because when we take the pitch on Saturday gone against Chelsea, because we've lost to them mostly over the last 20 years, we can't win today. I think that's complete nonsense. And the reverse is true, right? We were absolutely terrible last season, but for some reason, United couldn't take advantage of that. We beat them 4 times. So it doesn't mean anything. We've got a different manager, I think a better manager, but we've struggled at home. So it's going to be really interesting to see. I take all the points Harry said. My best mate's a United fan, so we talk about United a lot. The jury's still slightly out for me, so it looks like Amarim's turned a corner. I think the Chelsea game, when they beat Chelsea, it was still a little bit of, okay, but they went down to 10 men. How much was it 10 men? How much was it United playing better? Even the Liverpool game away, Liverpool United's a thing in itself. So, and United, they did get beaten 7-0, but sometimes they do all right against Liverpool. So it's like the Brighton game, I think, is the one that makes you think, actually, maybe this just isn't a flash in the pan. Maybe it is a bit more than that, and there's some sort of significant recovery going on here for United. So in that sense, it's going to be interesting for both of us. Have Spurs got a turning point for their home form, which has been absolutely abysmal? The worst, by the way, I don't know if we've seen these stats, but over the last 12 months, the worst Premier League home form of any club that's been in the Premier League for the last 12 months. We are the worst in the league. Is Simmons going to play better? Are we going to see a bit more fluency from Tottenham at home, or are we going to go back to the Chelsea type performance? Is this a flash in the pan from United, or are we going to see the Brentford type performance come out again? And if we're honest, I think for both teams, we don't really know. Anything could happen. So you could get an appalling United and Spurs could be better. It could be the other way around. Really can't call what's going to happen. My United mate is not optimistic, because I think just because he's very depressed at the fact I've managed to banter him. How Ange did not lose to Man United in his time as Tottenham manager is quite unbelievable. But all runs have got to come to an end. I think, Harry, I'm not naturally always the most optimistic of Spurs fans. So I don't know how it's going to go. I go in hope, not expectation, but that's the same for every game, to be honest.
Love that. No, but I agree with your approach in a way. I mean, I always see myself as maybe slightly more confident at times, but I like that you're realist, is what I'd call it. And I'm sure you use that word as well.
It's the difference of about, I don't know what there is between us, 25, 27 years age. So 25 years more worth of watching Spurs let you down. When you get to my age, Harry, you'll be like me, I promise you.
Well, you're not even going to deny that. You never know. But yeah, I don't know. I just think it's just one thing I don't get, and I don't want to go too much of a tangent. Is like people saying like I made a match preview, for example, on TikTok, and Harry, you may be able to relate. And people were moaning at the fact that I was going to be watching the game. I don't understand that. This was Spurs fans going like, "Why would you watch that dross? You've not got better things to do." And I'm like, and of course Chelsea was bad, but I'm not going to disappear off the face of the earth because my team didn't perform how I wanted them to, and in fact, probably were bad, really bad, and almost shamefully bad. But it doesn't change anything. We could have lost 10-0. I'd still be back watching Tottenham the next game, and I'd be at the stadium, against United. And if we lose badly after that, or if we lose the Arsenal North London derby, it's going to be frustrating. It's not even going to make me think about going to the next game. But I know I differ with a lot of people on that. But no, I need to get that off my chest. But Chris, thank you. I was interested to hear your thoughts. But no, I'd say realist is the way I'd put it. But Justin, how do you feel about this game?
Well, I'm gonna be that fan. It's only United.
Oh.
This ain't the Red Devils of what I grew up with. It's not that team no more. When was the last time United beat us? It's been a while. So yeah, no, for me, yeah, they're just little bro. They'll slap them up no matter how bad our form is. Like, we don't have to worry about it. Man, it don't matter who they play. Yeah, we could bring Jagerson back. We're still beating these players. Banter aside, yeah, they're looking right, but not on the level. Nah, it's the one. Man United is like taking City. Like we know it's a win.
Yeah, default win. Harry, would you like to respond to that or think a little bit back?
Here's the thing, right? As a kid, right, I always used to view Tottenham as like, how we view like a team like a Leicester or a Leeds or like them teams, yeah? Because like growing up, I remember a Ronaldo last minute winner header at OT when you guys were like 2-3-0 up, and we came back at OT to win. And your boy Dimitar Berbatov, I remember that. See. Here's the thing, right? I can come here and be shameless, but you know what? I'm gonna come on a level playing field because I tell you this, Harry, I need this win. Yeah, right. I'm looking right down the camera. Ruben Amorim, Brian Unbermo, Matthias Cunha, right? You see these lot. Chelsea won 1-0 and it should have been 6, right? Yo, I need this because, bro, 4-0. 4-0. And Joe, the maddest thing is, the last time that we won was when you had Conte. Deep that. Conte times, right? Fred and Bruno. Like, bro, Fred's in Turkey now. Like, bro, like for me, I look at Tottenham and look, I'm not going to sit in and like, oh, you know what, Spurs been sick. No, I've said it openly this season. Spurs look meaty, man. What it is. But, and Joe, for the first time, normally, whenever I've given Spurs a bit of criticism, I've gone to the coach. I actually think it's the opposite. I think it's the players and not the coach, because Thomas Frank, exceptional manager. I wanted him United. I hold my hands up. I did, because he's the top coach. He builds teams and he makes teams. I makes them from something. No, from nothing into something. And one of the things that I'm seeing good Spurs fans is that of what we've seen under Ten Hag, where in Europe, you're sick, and the league, it's hot and cold. And that Copenhagen win, I'll be honest with you, right? That game to me was a very telling game as to if Spurs still had that bottled DNA. Some of the smaller teams come to your place, and 9 times out of 10, it may get a point, it may get 3. But Spurs were excellent, and I couldn't agree more on what you guys have said about that. But one of the things that I'm looking for this weekend is that how is Thomas Frank going to be able to null and void on Burmo, because he's worked with on Burmo, and I'm talking like championship days. so he knows the ins and outs of him. Like Cunha, I know perform well. Bruno, first, but if we let on Burmo run riot and that Spurs left hand side can't handle him, because look, if you're playing Spence, because I'm not sure if he's still out, I'm not too sure. Or what that situation is, but if you're playing Jed Spence, I'm actually more confident because Udogie, for me, I rate him as a top left back. I think that on his day you can stop any defender, any forward. Sorry, but Jed Spence against Chelsea. Well, what I noticed was that Cucurella got in his head, and the Chelsea players got in his head. And if we can let Matheus Cunha obviously play his bit, sort of like rattle and able Jed Spence, get him rattled because that would see on Mo and Ahmad on the right hand side. Because if we go to type A of the Europa League lineup, it's Spurs' win. You might as well go on Vicey, Dorgu, left back, Dalot, right back. Might as well end the game, because that performance to me, that will never go away. And it pains me to say it will never die out. And I just hope that the players are shown that game in the changing rooms before the game, because I want them players to know how much that you scarred me and every other Red. Seeing these lot, if the Europa League, what's his name? The goalkeeper who retired, Whiteman, won the Europa League as our film director. Bro's living his life now because of us. We gave that to them. And it's like we have to get some form of redemption, because if we don't, I think it's going to be a bad day for our fan base if we don't beat you lot. So hopefully we do. But see, rattle enabler, bro. I know what you're doing. I know what you're doing, brother. I know it is. Do you know what it is? See, Harry, right. You know me, yeah. I'll tell you for free. I'll be here, win, lose, or draw. Humble. See, is one man I mine out for, yeah. Expressions. Yeah, that's the number one attack, bro. I'm telling you now. All them times I heard KG, no, the team is dead, bro. All them times I heard that, yeah, bro. I need my redemption art. Give me its Reds, please. Give me it, bro. I need it. I just need it.
All right, thank you, Harry, for your thoughts.
Can I have 60 seconds to come back on one point that
go on.
He was bantering us for the time we were 2-0 up at Old Trafford and we lost 5-2. There's an interview with Howard Webb, who was referee that day. And the question put to Howard Webb is, what was the worst decision you ever made in your career? And I've got the answer here. The one that stands out is one where in the game I knew I got it wrong. It was a Premier League game at Old Trafford, Manchester United versus Tottenham Hotspur in 2009. I could see Carrick got there first, then the goalkeeper clattered into him. It was a really easy penalty award. I was expecting the usual cursory appeal you get from the players, not the huge look of absolute astonishment and amazement and incredulousness on the look of Gomez. It was obvious within seconds I got the decision wrong, and there was far more to this. I was left with the decision I'd taken and no independent evidence I got it wrong other than a gut feeling. I was hoping Ronaldo would miss the penalty, but he didn't. And then it goes on at the end and it says... asked how he felt about it. He said, oh shit, really. You just know, you can tell as a ref, you can see the momentum shift. You can see the way the game's going. When the camera misses all those players and runs up to you at full time as a referee, it's not a good feeling. You just know you've got a world of pain coming your way. The best bit about this article is the next line. It said, Sir Alex Ferguson was asked about the goal and he said it was a bit fortunate.
I mean, we still won like by 3-0. No, but bro, see, the thing is, right, I got no bad blood against Tottenham, but like it comes to this game, when it hits 12:30 right on the dot, it is war. Like, bro,
I feel like, I don't know, to this, I feel like this could be complete nonsense. my gut feeling is our record at 12:30 kickoffs is not good.
That is
No, awful.
That is horror. I was diabolical. The last time we won a 12:30 kickoff, Everton, to 2023, Scott McTominay, like 2 years, 12:30 kickoff, and we've not won since then. So look, this game for me, it's huge. I'm hoping the boys could come through, but man, it's that Europa per league going, man. Like that, bro. We need to, please, boys, please just do it. Do it.
Right, thank you. Let's wrap up then with some lineup talks and predictions. So start with Spurs. Chris, I'll come back to you. Tell you what, we do preferable lineup. So what we would do if we were Thomas Frank, he's hard to predict as well. But if it's your team, Chris, what would your 11 be? Assuming we get no more injuries from now till then.
Well, I think the back five picks it. Well, having said that, I kind of love to see us experiment with a back five defense at some point, but I don't think I don't think he will.
No, what would you though? This is your team. Would you do
it? I probably would just keep the defense as it is. We've kept clean sheets in 50% of our games, right? So we're doing something right. So yeah, with Porro and Udogie as fullbacks. I think as much as the Spurs fans moan about it, I think Palhin's obviously got to play. I think you're going to end up playing Bentancur beside him, really. Simmons as your 10. Kudus will come back into the team. Mawani's got to play. So there's only a question over the left wing for me. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, I was saying just run a raffle before the game and just whoever wins it from the crowd can play left wing. But on the back of Oda Bear actually showing some half-decent signs on Tuesday, I guess I'd pick him. I just think our left wing options are so bad. It is actually astonishing. I don't think any of our left wingers get in any team in the Premier League, to be honest. But that's what I go with. I think it's interesting to see what anyone else thinks, but I think it's fairly straightforward, to be honest. If they're fit, just who plays on the left.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Justin, if you were Thomas Frank, what would your team be? I've got a feeling that Richarlison's going to be captain in the side, right?
Yeah. Of course, his first name on the team sheet. To be honest, I'm a bit like Chris. I wouldn't mind seeing a three at the back, just to compact that midfield and just go with like a Kolo and Kudos up front. But if not, then yeah, the normal 4-4-3 with it all depends on who they play and where they play. But if they do like the two in midfield with like Casemiro and Bruno, then yeah, I'd probably run with Paulinho and Bentancur just to make sure that their creativity side's out the game. But yeah, up front, obviously Kolo at the moment, Kudos on the right, and it's gonna have to be Oliver, really. Tell, you just never know. I'm not gonna risk playing Tell up front and throwing Kolo on the left right now. So yeah, old man Casemiro, don't worry, his legs aren't there. So so I'm not really too worried. Like, we're gonna be stronger, faster, everything else. It's just the quality side is keeping Bruno on lock. If we can keep him on lock, to be honest, Man U aren't gonna do too much. So yeah, I feel like we don't need to go 5 at the back for them.
Okay, thank you very much. And Harry, what would be your Manchester United team if you were Ruben Amorim? What would you go with?
Real quick, yeah. Confidence, I'll rate it. Fair play to you. No, you know what is my team? I'm sticking with the same team. So I go. Laman's in goal. I think it's been absolutely excellent. As he's come in, he's been a breath of fresh air compared to no, my God, he's awful. And then the back three. The one thing that Spurs have is strength, and I think Paulinho starting for you guys, Bentancur and Van der Ven and Romero. I think we're going to need a bit more strength in the back three. So I'd like to go De Ligt, Maguire, and probably Lenny Yoro, because I think that Luke Shaw in this game, warrior against like your wingers, as bad as they may be, Luke Shaw will get cut to shreds. So I think a back three of Maguire, De Ligt, and Yoro do. The wing back pairing, very simple. Never played Dello again. Patrick Dorgu has to start. I think that in this game, one of the things I've noticed Spurs don't do is handle crosses. And I think Patrick Dorgu constantly moving them in the box, constantly. Sesko will get on one of them. I can guarantee. So I go Doug on the left, Amber on the right. The midfield too. My unk. Yeah, my unk. Carlos Enrique Casemiro. Bro, this season, best DM in the league. I don't care what anybody says. He's the best DM in the league for me. No, I'm joking. No. So I'll go Casemiro, and I'm actually gonna go Ugarte because I think that those two in midfield against Spurs' front three, that we need a bit more compact in the two.
Great shout.
Because one of the things I noticed in the Europa League final was that Ugarte didn't have a proper six with him, hence why Spurs had a lot of the chances they did. Where if you play both of them, one thing they do is they complement each other really well. So we'll go with those two there. And front three, I'm actually going to drop Cunha for this one because not for a bad thing, but I think Bruno more forward is a bad thing for Spurs, but a good thing because if you put a guy who's been deep most of the season at his natural role, whatever team he faces, thrive because him in that 10 role, he's the best in the league. So I go Bruno on the left, I go Burma on the right, and I go Benjamin Sesko up top because I really do believe that Sesko against Van der Ven, against Romero in particular, I think he can get him really, really well.
Thank you very much, Harry. Let's end then with score predictions. So I'd like all of your score prediction and also your scorers. So who you think is going to score. If you don't think anyone's going to do, then of course that makes it easier for yourself. I'll kick us off. I've started to give my prediction recently. 2-1 Tottenham I'm going to go with. But I think it's going to be a really, really tough game. I had in my head, it could be a draw. I had 1-1 or 2-1. But I think Tottenham might just about edge it. So kick us off with a Tottenham win. Chris, prediction and scorers for me?
I shall sprinkle my usual level of Spurs positivity.
Oh, no. Okay.
I'll go the draw.
That's
I think 1-1 maybe. Let's go for Simmons. Why not? He's got to score one day, hasn't he? He's got to score. So we'll go with that for Simmons or Muwani. I think the way they linked up on Tuesday gave me real hope. I don't
maybe
think
both.
Well, maybe. I don't think Muwani generally misses the sitters he missed on Tuesday. I think he's just not quite fully sharp yet. So one of those for us. United. Anyone who's in the area and bumbles it in when Vicario fumbles across, probably. So maybe late on we're trying to defend the lead, and if they've got Seshko on that probably will cause us some issues, especially if he stands on or near. I say on anywhere near Vicario will cause him quite a few problems. So I'll go with a scramble late Seshko equaliser from a yard.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you. And Justin, are you going with a win? Are you going with a defeat? Are you going with a draw? What are you thinking?
Obviously, it's got to be a win. That's already happened. I'm gonna say 4-1. I'm gonna go with Romero, Paulinho, Colo, own goal, and then they will get a penalty, and it'll be Bruno. And I thought they'll score second to make it 1-1, and then we'll just write them off.
You surprised me there. Okay, thank you. I love it. At least you backed up your big talk there. So thank you, Justin. Harry, I could tell you didn't like that. Would you like to give us your prediction and scorers, please?
I think that although Spurs don't score a lot of goals in the league, I actually think it's going to be a high scorer game. So I'm going to go Man United 3, Tottenham Hotspurs 2. I think Spurs go 2-0 up in the first half. And then they do what Spurs do best, capitulate. And I think the goal scorers for us will be Sesko to score the first via a set piece that, Frank loves. So Sesko scores the first. I think that Mickey van der Ven gives away a penalty. Fernandes to score that. And Brian Unbermo on his former manager's head top in the Spurs end, scores the winner in the 90th minute. That's over to Amorim. He gives him a hug, and he goes to Thomas Frank. Man United win 3-2. And Spurs scorers, I'll give Spurs their credit, and they do score. And I think Polini will score a screamer, and maybe 25 yards out, 20 yards out. And then I think Van der Ven gets back-to-back goals. I think he'll score 100%. So yeah, United 3, Tottenham Hotspurs 2.
The capitulation line on the back of Bilbao stings a little bit, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Well, end of the day, we got the trophy, so,
Yeah, hey, look, we were in the same league he was tuning up as. You know that game, Howard Webb, whatever, yeah. That season, we were the winners, and you came, like, 6th, 7th, 8th?
Sure. I mean, let's be fair, that's 16 years ago. I mean, you're sounding a bit... You're sounding a bit like Spurs fans usually sound like,
you know what, though?
Great back in the day.
Finish up, though. I want to give Spurs a bit of hope here, because I actually think one of the things that I think Spurs are going to be so key at on the weekend is that press. If they do a high press and we have most of the ball, that's a Spurs win, because one thing that we can't handle, City did it and it worked a dime for them. If Tottenham play the City way they did against us, that's a Spurs win, because we cannot handle it at all. So yeah, hopefully that's not the case, but yeah, up the mighty Reds. Come on, United.
Oh, you're on mute, Harry.
You're on mute.
Never heard you sound so...
Hello? Hear me now?
There we go.
Oh, you were unplugged. Unplugged.
No, Mike just decided to disconnect. It's probably giving me a hint that I'm, waffling for too much. I was going to say Harry. I mean, nice silence there, I'm sure, for all of you. But I was going to ask you about Ronaldo's interview. I'm sure you would have seen some of it with Piers Morgan. A lot of quotes coming out. He spoke a lot about Manchester United. It was very kind, but was clear he thinks there is, problems at Man United and players and what they're kind of playing for. What do you make of that? It was a little bit of an eye-opener, but I think we could kind of expect what was coming out from that.
I think that, look, first of all, I mean, if proof's in the pudding there, he's my boy. I love Ronaldo. And you know what it is? Like, the interview, look, he speaks the truth. And when he did that interview, I think in 2022 with Piers Morgan, I actually respected it, because one thing he did was sort of stand up for his fans, called out the ownership, called out the coach. And the interview that he did with Piers Morgan this time was that I was very upset in terms of what when Piers asked him about, coming back, and he said that they're always in my heart, and I would love them. And I sort of think that if Eric Ten Hag hadn't have done what he done to Ronaldo, I still think he'd be now, because Ronaldo, I can see a world somewhere down the line, if we're bought and sold by the Glazers, I think that Ronaldo will be a part of that, because I think he loves the club, like in a way that Roy Keane doesn't, in a way that Scholes doesn't. Where, like, again, he calls Alex Ferguson his father of football, and why that in itself, and the goals he scored. And I just think that he speaks truth, and a lot of people like to twist things about him and sort of put it in a negative light. But I really liked what he said, because he was asked if United could win the league, and a lot of our fans have been like, "Oh yeah, no." It was like, we're nowhere near Arsenal, we're nowhere near Liverpool. Like, where United are now, it doesn't feel right. But, like, I know they'll be there in the future. And he's spot on. So, yeah, Cristiano Ronaldo, as always, hitting the right points. And, mate, I love him. And, Ronnie, if you're somehow watching this, please come home. Like, come home part 3, man. I need it. I need it so bad.
Well, more importantly, if you're watching this, like, subscribe. You're Ronaldo. Come on, enough you say. That's what I have to say. But no, you're absolutely right. And do you know, it was a good interview. I mean, I think they're, I don't know, a little bit cheesy in terms of, I think there's a lot of love going on between the two, and there was too much love in for Arsenal, both sides for my liking. But I still think it was a good interview. I just thought it was, I don't know, done. I had to check it wasn't done for the Arsenal Football Club page on his socials, but it wasn't. It's fine. It was still a good
So,
interview.
Harry, real quick,
Huh?
right?
Yeah.
Just to you this. So, let's say Tottenham win, right? And you know what? I actually asked Justin as well. If Tottenham win, Arsenal title race, who says no? Arsenal, Tottenham. Justin only here. Arsenal and Spurs title race? What was
You're
that?
dreaming.
Yo, until we're not in it, we're not in it. That's what I'm saying. As long as we take Snapchat, you never know. Who said Leicester is gonna win it? I'm just saying, innit? You never know. Football's crazy like that.
Fair play.
I'm shutting it down. I completely shut it down. Unfortunately, also another league. It's horrible to say, but I just think bread and complete like men versus boys. Unfortunately, engulfing difference. You don't know in terms of 90 minutes when we play them, and I hope I'm wrong, but I just think I love the optimism, Justin. But I just think, unfortunately, I'm not going to even kid myself. We'll go there. No, just a no. But no, it's a good question. And do you know, I have one final question.
Terrible question. It wasn't a good question.
Well, be kind. But I've got one final question to finish. It is just a yes or no. And that is whether you'd be happy, in your opinion, with a point, so draw this weekend. So I'm going to go to you first, Harry, Manchester United fan. Would you, yes or no, be happy with and take the point away in the capital?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I wasn't sure what you're going to say. So you're going yes. Justin, as a Tottenham fan, yes or no? I've got a feeling you're going to say no, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, it's naturally no. Like if we're talking about Wolves or get me a Burnley, but Man U, no, it has to be a win, man. It has to be a win.
Fair enough. Harry doesn't like that answer, but there we go. And Chris, go on then. I'm interested to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I predicted a draw, so I don't think it's a disaster. For me, to be honest, with where we are in our project, if you want to use the buzz phrase,
overused word,
it's more important as to how we play for me. I've got super amounts of patience with Frank at the moment. I fully expect that where we are with the squad we have, that one day we can look good and the next day we'll stink the place out. I think that's going to carry on, but I want the general sort of trend to be upwards and see that improvement. We saw some of it on Tuesday. If we can see some of that carry over to the Premier League, I'll settle for that. And if it means we win, we lose, I'm less fussed about that because we're not going to achieve a huge amount this season. It's about putting the foundations in place for the future. So I'm not too, if we play well, that's far more important to me right now than whether we win or lose, to be honest.
Great stuff. Okay, thank you very much. Tell you what, I keep saying last thing, but Harry, Ruben Amorim, if you lose this game, we know how things. I don't think between Man United fans, they're generally quite patient, generally speaking. But football media, the whole general world, a lot of pressure on Amorim. It just feels like floating, almost like bipolar, backwards and forwards, in, out, shake it all about. So for you, still, are you 100% behind Amorim? Is there any case where you pull that plug before we even go into the new year?
Well, if a lot of your viewers have seen my page, I've been Amorim out since the day he signed, and that's not changed. Even these wins haven't changed it. So if we actually lose if we lose like a 2-1 or a 1-0, then fair enough. Spurs are on the Frank, they're expected to win. Justin, wink, wink, wink. So to me, a 2-1 Spurs win, but okay, it's their place, blah blah blah. But if it's 4-0 or 5-1 or even 6-1, pull the plug.
It won't be that. If you watch this attack.
Yeah. But the reason why I say it because one thing that Amorim does. And it's so jarring where he will have something good and he'll ruin it. And what we have right now is good. And knowing Amorim, the one time we have the shot to beat Spurs. So when their front three ain't kicking, I can guarantee you he'll blow it all away. So honestly, it won't surprise me.
Let's hope so.
Yeah, I can back that up. But no, I think that wraps us up nicely this episode. Any final comments from anyone? No.
But the only thing I would say is you realise what our next 2 games are after that. They're Arsenal away, then
Arsenal,
PSG
yeah.
away. So
Okay.
if the opposite happened and we got thumped, that's really bad to reflect on that for a couple of weeks and then have Arsenal away as your next game.
I mean, Chris, did you see the Tottenham Twitter account posted a picture of you lost 22 home fixtures in Europe, unbeaten?
Oh yeah.
And look, again, I'm not here to be a rattle enabler, right? I look at that and the comments and I'm like, that's not the Spurs that I remember watching, beating Madrid at Wembley, those sort of teams. And it's like Europa League, half of them fixtures, kind of spooky. It's like those sort of games.
Well, I can agree, but I'm going to throw it back at you slightly. United fans at the moment, 3 wins in a row. And the hype around that, and you could get 4 wins in a row. How long did it take for Ruben Amorim?
They drew last week, didn't they? So that poor guy, he's not getting his haircut.
No, I know. Yeah, I was going to ask him about that actually, but back-to-back wins took you a long while under Amorim. Why did it take so long?
You know what it is? I think. Look, first of all, that guy, right? I'm sure he's a nice sound guy, but mate, yeah, wrap it up. No, but on back-to-back stuff, I think that it was needed and healthy because the fact that teams like Aston Villa were going back-to-back wins, Brentford back-to-back wins, and then we're there getting 1, then a loss, 1, then a draw. We needed it, and I think the fact that we finally got it, you can see the confidence in the players. And I know I've said about Brighton before, but that Brighton game, for me, like Chris pointed out earlier, that was the game where people went, "Oi, you know what? These might actually not be a fluke. Well, I'd be somewhat decent." Because I think Liverpool, as Chris says, as you know, that game form goes out the window. And any team can win that. So, yeah, I think back-to-back wins was needed. But I just hope now that we can go 5 unbeaten now. Because I think if we lose, then I think you've got... I think it's Everton at home after the international break. And it's like... that might get a little bit dark if we're not careful. So, yeah, hopefully it can continue, but yeah.
Thank you, Harry. And that wraps up nicely for this episode. Let's go through and see if we can find all of my wonderful guests tonight across all socials. I want to thank firstly Conno coming earlier, had lots of connection issues, did try up to about 7 or 8 times, so really appreciate him coming on. You can find him at Things Hotspur. Also, Joseph was meant to be on, but he's suffering for a few health issues. So again, we wish him all the best. He is okay though. Chris, where can people find you on the socials?
Just stinking out Twitter or X or whatever we want to call it with that handle right there, and posting what I would say are factually correct referee takes that everybody hates because no one likes referees. So yeah, just on X, mate, and occasionally cropping up around the Spurs YouTube world.
Lovely stuff. Yeah, you do some bits, don't you? Spurs Kings TV.
Yeah, Spurs. I'm on a few, mate, but yeah, Spurs Kings is one. Yeah.
Great stuff. Thank you, Chris, for your time. Really do appreciate it as always. Justin, thanks for coming on. It has been a little while. Would love to get you back on again soon. Where can people find you?
Thanks for having me again. You can just catch me on X and TikTok as well, The Rat Show. I'm just here to just banter the other fans, give my opinion on the team. I've got 2 Arsenal brothers and 2 Man U brothers, so you know what I'm saying. At the end of the year, Man U flop, the elephant falls out the tree for Arsenal. So yeah, man, bring it on.
Great stuff. Thank you to my Spurs panel, but also massive thanks to my special guest for tonight, Manchester United fan Harry. I think you're amazing. You raised awareness of so many different important things you said there with the stammer as well. So thank you, honestly. Where can people find you across social media?
Handles there on my page on the TikTok where I post a whole bunch of footy content. My Instagram, that's mainly for if you want to see a bit more of me and maybe a bit of the singing, that's cup of tea there. And then Twitter, I get my wrestling fans stuff out of there more, and I occasionally rattle the Scarfey once in a while. But yeah, on my platforms, there's my name there, and hopefully you guys like my stuff.
Great stuff. Thank you. If you're listening on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Listening via audio, so podcast platform, please drop us a follow and a 5-star review. Let us know where in the world you've listened from, because a lot of viewers outside as well, the UK. So thank you very much. Appreciate your continued support. A few things quickly to announce. So latest channel data, always like to keep you up to date. So in terms of football fan channels in October, 67th we are most watched football fan channel in October, which is up by 3. 9th most watched Spurs fan channel in October, down by 1, but really, really steady, which is interesting. A lot more views than the month before, but unfortunately fallen into place due to the rise of other channels. And overall, which I think is super impressive, 77th most watched football fan channel so far across the year, so absolutely not a fluke. So thank you for the continued support. 2 more things. Got a guy who's Spurs women's season ticket holder, fanatic, big as well in the media, in the press box. We're asking questions, and that is to do with Spurs women content, because he's Spurs women's season ticket holder. He'll be doing analysis, previews, reviews, and a lot more as well in the future. And he starts with immediate effect. The first video out tomorrow. And for the first time, I haven't announced this on the socials, the Scarfey Talks Premier League podcast is back. It has been a little while. I mean, Chris, I believe you're a guest on that. But it's actually not hosted by me. I've had 2 people approach me, and it is a Tottenham fan and an Arsenal fan that go together in the same college course. This is going to be interesting. They'll be hosting 2 episodes a week, Tuesday and Thursday, 8:45 p.m. live on YouTube, which means my show here, the Tottenham podcast, twice a week, Monday and Thursday, will be moved to an early time of 7 p.m. to also cater for that. So a lot going on at the channel. Recently bought FPL content too. So this is all thanks to you guys. But that wraps us up. And Harry, I'm sorry to say it, but a massive come on you Spurs for this weekend.